I want to talk about initially the generation of alignments for the curbs, and this is kind of purely a 2D discussion because when we're laying out for the machine, we have to take into consideration some different things. So let's just kind of walk through this job and talk about some of the particulars you need to address when you're going to run curb on something with a machine and go stringless. The first thing to note is coming into this curb section here, you'll see that we extend out past where this curb most likely would appear to go normally. Now, I've got both 3D lines for the top of curb and the face of curb, just so you can get a better idea and see the two lines at one time. With the alignment starting here, the machine can come and pick up at this point here, so they'll air pave for a little bit and then hit this kind of intersection here and then continue around and get this curb poured. So the same happens over here, and what we do is a consistent lead-in on each one of these so they know how far they have to go and at what station they're actually going to start committing to that curb being poured. If we come down and look at some of these others, we start to get involved in some of the aspects of doing a curb with curves in it, and most importantly, these closed island shapes here. These are pretty critical. Now, when we look at the alignment file, you'll see how we handle these, but a lot of times the curb machines will have trouble with these small radii, and oftentimes crews will run the straight sections with the machine and do a hand pour with a hanging form to get these small parts of the islands in. So the crews know what their machines are capable of doing, and sometimes they just feel more comfortable doing those real small sections by hand. This job continues pretty much the same way with sections being brought in and lead-ins here, able to cut these in. Let's go over to the alignment and just kind of talk about that. So the site here kind of shows you what's happening. This is kind of a remodel to the to an existing property, and we discussed this layout with the client, how they want to do things, and kind of brought them into it with an understanding of how they were going to approach it. And there were a couple places where we actually had to match into existing curbs, so there was a little bit more work to do. We wanted to make sure we got those dimensions correct. Now, the field certainly doesn't need all this information, especially for doing the curb and so forth. So I want to kind of go over what the best thing to do to get the field the information they need is. So let's run back and actually look at what we kind of do to get the field information. Now, the first thing you'll notice that the curbs are all ID'd, so that information is available to the operators so they know what curb they're going to do. And this is just great for the screen. They can see it, it's easy, everything is predictable, and the job is stationed so they know where they're going to start and stop. Every once in a while, somebody will come and say, "Hey, could you reverse the alignment and make that line start at the end?" Let's say they wanted this one changed, and that can certainly be done. So it's not a difficulty, but obviously with the curb pointing on the left side of the machine, it's usually pretty easy to plan these things out initially. The job now is laid out and ready to go into the field, and what I want to do in the next video is kind of talk about the vertical alignments and also detailing out the horizontals to get things just right so the job does exactly what you need it to.